Welcome to Book Talk. This is Peter the Book Lover, and I'm going to talk about the books that I recently read. Let's talk about some books. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter the Book Lover here, and in these videos, I call this Book Talk, where I talk about recent books that I've read. And I've read some pretty interesting books, so I'm going to talk about them. But before I do, I want to thank you for coming here. You're really awesome for stopping by. Thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate that. Now, I usually do it three at a time, and I read three children's books. And then after reading them, I seen that it's like I really can't make an episode of Book Talk just talking about these three books. But I'm going to talk before I get into the three books that I read after these children books. I'm going to talk about these children books. Let's start off with the first one. This is by H.A. Rey. This is Curious George. This is the first Curious George book. And the thing about this is a pretty cool story. This is just a story about a monkey that's out in the wild. The guy puts down his yellow hat. It attracts him. Then he catches him. He takes him to America, brings him to his apartment. The monkey escapes, has a bunch of adventures, really cool adventures, great artwork in this book. And then later, I'm giving it away, but he winds up in the zoo. But this is a very interesting journey. The colors are amazing in this book. This has got amazing artwork and it's got amazing color. And the story is very cute and adorable. And this isn't really for adults. I'm not recommending this for adults, but this is a great book for you to read to your children and then have your children read to you. So this was a very good book. And this is one of the books that I grew up with. I remember this from my childhood. And I can't remember if I read it when I was young, when I had this book. I think I just looked at the pictures, but I read it now, and this is a very cute story, and I really enjoyed it. Curious George. And then after that, I read this one, Make Way for Ducklings. This one's by Robert McCluskey. And yeah, this is another book that's about a story about a set of ducks that are looking for a place to have children. So they find a little island and they try a couple places in the city of Boston, and they actually have their children, and that's pretty much it. And they actually walk through the town. There's a part of this book to where they go through the town, and there's a police officer that helps them go through the town. This one is not in color, but it's got amazing artwork. I really love the artwork. The scenery of this book is pretty cool, and I enjoyed it. And this one's a little bit better than Curious George. This one's written a little bit more detail. It would be a little bit harder for a kid to read. This would be a great book for you to read to your children. It's pretty interesting. I like this a lot. This was cute. Very cute book. I haven't read this before. This is not from my childhood, but I'm glad that I've read this. This was a pretty cute book. Okay, the next one is a Dr. Seuss book, What Was I Scared Of? And this is a glow-in-the-dark book. And I like the glow-in-dark. I put it against my light, and I made it glow. And I always loved the whatever ink they use to make the glow-in-the-dark ink. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that you could shut off the light and see it in the dark. I've always loved that since I was a kid. The story of this is kind of got a moral to this story about accepting things that are different than you. This is about a character that's going through the woods, and it keeps on seeing this pair of pants, and it's terrified of the pair of pants, but then the character finds out the pants is afraid of her as well. And then at the end of this book, they become friends, and this is pretty cool. This isn't my favorite Dr. Seuss book. And now that I've read it, I was like, yeah, I think I remember reading this book. Because I read, like, every single Dr. Seuss book that, I think it was February that I read every single Dr. Seuss book. So I read this one, and I believe I read it back in February. So I've read this before, and I enjoyed this again. Although this one is definitely not as good as the other two that I've read. But yes, this was in my little collection of three children's books. But as you see, there's not much to that, so I don't want to make this the episode. Then I went and got into some Roald Dahl books. Now, the first book that I read was Going Solo by Roald Dahl, and this is the sequel to Boy. Now, Boy is a book by Roald Dahl that I'm not a fan of. I really, out of all his books, it's my least favorite book of his. But this book was very, very cool. Some very interesting stories. There's some time that he spent in Africa, and his stories about snakes. They have a part where they talk about the mamba snake. I learned something really cool. In Zimbabwe, Simba is for lion, and it made me think of the Lion King. So Simba is just lion, but in Zimbabwe. And there's a couple of words I had to look up on the locations, and this was actually very, very good. This goes into the when he goes into the Royal Air Force, and it's pretty cool because there's like a story about where they had these planes called Hurricanes, and they had a very small amount. They had like 7 Hurricanes, and they were fighting hundreds of the Luftwaffe. And the Air Force adventures were really cool. There is a part of this book to where he meets a nurse because he gets into an accident and he's blinded for a while. And I thought it was going to lead to him meeting his wife, but it turns out she's just a nurse. It's got some letters that he wrote to his family. Yeah, and it has a nice happy ending. I really like the ending to how he finally went home. The adventures in Africa were pretty cool. There's a scene to where a snake is attacking a family, and unfortunately a dog dies in it. But yeah, the stories were very interesting. Way better than Boy. I highly recommend this one. This one was great. Okay, now the next book that I read I read actually 2 of the same book at the same time. This is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This is the older version of this book, and this is the newer version of this book. And I wanted to read both of these to see if there was any difference in the editing. You know, did they take anything out? Turns out this is exactly the same story. Nothing was changed. And Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is an amazing story. The imagination of this story is amazing. I mean, this is a wonderful book, man. The fact that it's a chocolate factory and it's a magical chocolate factory. You've got 5 children that go in there, and they all have a lesson to learn, and they all learn a lesson from this book. Willy Wonka is an amazing character in this book. Charlie is a great character. His Uncle Joe. He's actually a better character in the book than he is in the movie, because in the movie he takes the fuzzy lifting drink, and they're not supposed to do it, so he breaks the rules. But in the book, he doesn't break the rules. And then, just like in the movie, he actually wins the factory. And it was pretty cool. Also, what was cool about it is the different artwork. This is by Quentin Blank, did the artwork in this book. And then, I don't know who's the person that did the artwork. I don't know who did the artwork. But the artwork is drastically different. It's pretty interesting seeing the different artwork. That was pretty cool. Lovely story, man. If you have not read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I highly recommend this book. This book is amazing. You know, from beginning to end. Not a dull part of this book. I highly recommend it. Okay, and the next Roald Dahl book that I read was a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie and the Glass Elevator. Now, this book is pretty much 2 different stories. There's a story to where they're going to the factory, but they wind up in space. And they run into this alien creatures that attack them, and they're pretty cool. Venmicious Nids, I believe they're called. And the first half of this book is a lot better than the second half of this book. The second half of the book is where they take this medicine that turns them younger, but they take too much, and you know, one of the characters like disappears. It's still a good book. I enjoyed the book, but I enjoyed the other two Roald Dahl books more than this book. But it's still, at the same time, this is worth reading. This isn't a bad, especially in the beginning. You've got the president in this book of the United States of America. He's got a vice president that's his nanny, which is pretty cool. And then he's got all these, there's a secretary, no, the secretary of war that wants to bomb them. They think that Charlie and his grandparents and his mother and father are a bunch of aliens, and they're wondering what they should do with it, and the whole world is watching. The beginning of this book is really cool, and I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time reading this book, especially the beginning. I love the Vermicious Nids. They're a very interesting alien. I wish that he would make more stories about them because they're pretty cool. They're like shapeshifters, and they're kind of vicious. They spell out the word scram, which was pretty cool. So that's it for this episode of Book Talk. I hope you enjoyed me talking about these books. If you've read any of these books, please let me know what you think of these books. If you're planning on reading any of these books, and you got any questions, ask me a question, or let me know why you want to read this book or anything. Just leave comments, all kind of comments. You could even just say hello. I'd love it. And if you haven't subscribed, can you subscribe to the channel? That would really help my channel out. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for being here. That's about it, man. I will see you the next time. Yeah, and if you like the video, please give it a like. That would be wonderful. Really wonderful, man. I'd love to see those likes. Those likes mean so much to me and other booktubers. So if you watch my videos or videos of other booktubers. Oh, and before I go, I just thought about something. I want to give you, this is my 7th year of being on BookTube. And I've got a really small audience. I've got a lot more subscribers than my audience. And the thing about it is I still make videos. And a lot of people, after so long and still having a small audience, would give up. But I have a secret. And the secret is make videos that you want to make. I enjoy making these videos because I enjoy reading these books, and I love talking about it. So that is my secret to surviving on YouTube. There's other things that you could do to get a big audience. If you're looking for a big audience, and I would give up if it was just the audience, but it's also having a good time doing this. So that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming by, and I'll see you next time.